Hello, friends. Ken Graves here with GodSword on what is Monday, the 21st of April, the day after our Resurrection Sunday gathering here at Calvary. Oh, the goodness of God. The goodness of God. We're in the second chapter of Matthew, continuing that journey which we just began. Matthew chapter 2. Let me show you something. You see right here, this is a kumquat tree that my wife needed me to take care of for a short time. She wants it back. But it has served me. It's been safe here by the window. But what is it hanging? You may think this strange. My assistant, Eric, who is German, Jew. His dad was a Jew, Brooklyn Jew. His mom was from Germany. So he's a real multicultural guy. Well, his German mom, she sets us up with German sausage. We're very fond of the, Landjäger. But when they first come, they're kind of, they're kind of, they're kind of moist. And the tradition is to let them hang and dry, air dry. And they do drip some of the oil. So, anyway, my buddy Dan Chuck got me some when I was down there with him in Chambersburg. Brought him back. This batch came from him, and I hanged them on the thorns of the kumquat tree. And there, they dry, and they get real hard. Oh, but they're good. They're so good. Now, the reason why I thought I'd mention it to you, besides the fact that I just noticed it was in the camera, is, no, you gotta bite them with your back teeth. Is, we just did a fast leading up to Resurrection Sunday, and that tree, in this office, with those really good German sausages hanging there, was the forbidden fruit for a week of not eating. Oh my! Come in here every day and see them. But that was then. This is now, and the fast ended before the celebration. And Saturday, when I broke that fast, I brought mustard from home to leave right here in the office for me and my Landjäger. So, forgive me for eating in front of you now that I've started. I'm going to set this down. Right there. There. We'll go to the Bible. Just thought I'd share with you. Although I'm really not sharing, am I? Does that seem strange to you to have sausages hanging in your tree in the office? It does to me too, but it's great. Matthew chapter 2. Verse 1. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who was born King of the Jews? for we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. And when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. He would be. The more you learn about Herod the king, the more you appreciate what seems like a profound understatement that was. Herod the Great, as he liked to be referred to, was a madman. He was famous for his paranoia and his murderous tendencies to take drastic measures to deal with anything that he perceived as a threat to his throne, even if it was his own sons. So for him to hear from foreigners that one has been born who is king of the Jews, and that his star was seen in the east, well, you can imagine, it made him really crazy. But Herod is that kind of crazy that doesn't just lose control and reveal. He's a cunning, subtle kind of crazy who will later in this chapter act as if he were, actually just a few verses down, as if he's a genuine worshiper. So everyone is troubled if Herod is troubled. King has been born. Now the line of David, the dynasty of David, was considered long gone. It's over. There was no heir from the tribe of Judah or from David's family that could, as far as anybody was concerned, lay any claim on the throne. Rome essentially installed who they wanted to rule over these Jews. And they gave no regard at all to, God or what God had promised or what God wanted. To hear that there is a king and that his star has been seen in the east. Wow. And not only that, but that these foreigners, these magi, have come to worship. The word is rightly translated. They came that they might worship him. Well, that's intriguing, isn't it? Verse 4 says, and gathering together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he was inquiring of them where the Christ was to be born. And they said to him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for this is what has been written by the prophet. You, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah. For out of you shall come forth a leader who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod secretly called the Magi, carefully determining from them the time the star appeared. Wow. Let's talk about these Magi. Exactly who they are is somewhat unsettled, but all indications is that they are a movement, a leftover sort of think tank that had been assembled initially by a Babylonian monarch, of which that particular think tank, the prophet Daniel, became the preeminent one. And even after the Babylonians had been conquered by the Persians, the role of Daniel continued, and the institution itself continued. It would seem that they have their roots, centuries old now, that would have been nearly 5 centuries before the time of Christ. So there's a subtle indication that there were Gentiles outside of the covenant people that knew of a promised Messiah, and they had seen, as they observed the constellations, indication that that promised king had been born. I won't take you through it, but I'm a fan of and a believer in the work of Colin Nichol, the great Christ comet. You've probably heard me speak about it around Christmas time. It's an interdisciplinary work that involves the astrologist as well as the astronomers, not astrology, astronomers, as well as the linguistics, the theologians, people who study Greek. And they'll look at the text of what Matthew has written here. And they find that the verbs in this text that are used in connection with this star are the only thing in our sky that does what these verbs say that star did is a comet. And so he makes a really compelling case, a profound case, that these men were 500 or so miles away in the regions of what was once Babylon, and that they there, observing the sky, saw indication that the Messiah of the Jews had been born. And Colin makes the connection between what they were observing and what had long been paganized, but originally was known as the Hebrew Mazzaroth. The Mazzaroth, a word used by God in Job, I believe Job 38 or 39. But there's always been a story told in the heavens utilizing the constellations, and Colin Nichol connects the fact that despite whatever culture and whatever civilization, there have always been these characters. Their names may change, but the characters remain in the stars. And there's only one female character in the sky that the Greco-Roman culture referred to as Virgo, the Virgin. And Colin Nichol puts forth the hypothesis that the stargazers, these magi, made the observation that conception had taken place in that constellation of Virgo, where Earth's sun played the part of God the Creator, is overshadowing the constellation Virgo, and conception took place, and the comet, the star that appeared, was the Magi witnessed it travel the birth canal of the constellation Virgo and ultimately birth. Look at this, and it makes sense that when ultimately they will see on Earth, in person, what they had seen represented in the constellations, they fall down and worship. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Herod, he calls the scribes of the people that know the prophets. He asked them where. They told him Bethlehem. He consulted with the Magi secretly. He didn't want anyone else to know, so secretly he consulted them about when did you see this? About what time did you see the star appear? And based on that information, he concludes he's looking for a child that is 2 years old and under, somewhere around the last couple of years in Bethlehem. That plays into the order that he gives that every male child will be slaughtered. Every child, I'm sorry, reading on. So it says here in verse 8, he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child, and when you have found him, report to me, so that I too may come and worship him." That's the kind of evil, crazy, really sinister evil Herod was, that he could pretend to be a worshiper, that he could pretend to be as interested as them, and for the same reason. Verse 9 says, "Now after hearing the king, they went their way, and behold, the star, which they had seen in the east, was going on before them until it came and stood over the place where the child was." Child, not baby. Child, toddler. It's the language here used by Matthew under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit that suggests that this was in fact a comet and they saw it. And not only did they see it go on before them, they say it stood. It's interesting. Over the place where the child was, it stood. It makes so much more sense that a comet with its tail would look like a cursor, an arrow pointed on one little house on the skyline of Bethlehem. Not a stable, not a manger, a house, for it has been now, a couple of years. This is an amazing thing. When they saw the star, verse 10 says, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And after coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother. They fell to the ground and worshipped him. They fell to the ground and worshipped him because they didn't see the child, his mother, and a foster father, Joseph. He's clearly not there. They see the mother and child. They saw on earth exactly what they saw in the sky. And they worshipped. They did not merely bow and pay homage, they worshipped. Then, opening their treasure, they presented to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And because of those three gifts, traditionally people speak of three wise men. There were no three wise men, there were three gifts. The wise men could have been a very large and significant caravan, a significant group, a fraternity. And no doubt, traveling with treasure, they traveled also with private security. They were, no doubt, well accompanied, well guarded. But there were three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But then the last thing we read about them is verse 12. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, the Magi departed for their own country by another way. Well, please forgive me, but I am committed to leaving these studies in about 20 minutes. I'm there already, and there's a whole lot more to be said about the second half of this second chapter. So please allow me to count this one as one that will have to be continued tomorrow, okay? We'll pick up where we left off. Thanks for joining me on this study again. Tomorrow we'll resume with the 13th verse. Grace and peace to you all.